Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Next chapter that we are going to discuss is file system. In this chapter, we will be discussing file system, the mechanism, how are the files accessed and organized, and how we can access our data from these files. This is the outline of this chapter. We will first develop file concept. Then we will highlight some of the functions of file system. Next, we will discuss the data access methods from files. And at the end, we will be discussing the directory structure that make the complete file system. So the first topic of discussion is to understand few file concepts. Let's revise our concepts about how files are formed. Files are generally located at secondary storage, where logical addresses are located in virtual memory. Files occupy adjacent memory locations at secondary storage, and there are commonly two types of files. Either a file is a data file or it is a program file. Data, as you all know, is the raw collection of facts and figures in disorganized form. So data has further three types: numeric data, consisting of digits only; character data, consisting of alphabets, both capital and small letters; and the third type of data is binary data, that consists of binary streams of 0 and 1. While program file is actually the collection of data and instructions. How files are created? This is the hierarchy of data. Facts and figures form data. Collection of characters in any type form fields. Field is what you call in database a column, where you store data about single entity. Collection of fields then form records, and in database you also call a record as a tuple. Collection of related records form files, and the collection of related files form directories. Then the collection of directories form the complete file system. So this is the hierarchy of how we reach to a file system, starting from data. These are the attributes of a file, and you use them very commonly. Every file has a name, the way you give a name to your files. These names are in human readable format, so you can easily locate your files in any file system. Identifier is actually the unique tag. Identifier, it is the unique tag, the way you use primary key in database that uniquely identifies a record in complete database. Your registration numbers are your identifiers, as no two students can have similar registration numbers, even if the names of students are same. Next attribute is file type. Every file has a type, which is represented with the extensions, such as document files have extensions .doc, executable files have extensions .exe, PowerPoint files have extensions .ppt, and so on. Next attribute is location. You save your files to some long-term storage location. So location is another attribute. Next attribute is file size. The size of the file is also calculated by operating system, and you can easily check the size of your files. Next file attribute is protection. Protections are also provided on your files. User can add read, write protections on your files. And this can be done by even adding passwords on specific files, so that nobody can read or update those files even though the file is visible. But it cannot be opened by anyone except the owner. You can also add date, time, and user identification to your files. You can add date and time of creation on your files. Besides that, operating system also records date and time of last access to the files, along with the date and time of its creation and updation made in the files, in order to monitor the use of file for protection and security purposes. There are different directories as being made by the user on disk that hold different types of files. These are the operations being performed on files by a user. A file has no proper data type, since it can hold multiple types of data. User can create a file, write and read data within the file, reposition the data, that means changing position of some contents within the file, deleting complete or some parts of file, searching for a specific file within the file system, listing directory in different views such as grid views, horizontal or vertical views, and listing as per alphabetical order or any other options are there for listing of your directories. Files can be easily renamed, and the file system can be traversed easily. So these are some of the operations that can be performed by a user on files. Next topic of discussion, as mentioned in the outline, is the functions performed by a file system. Here are some of the functions performed by the file system. create, modify, or delete a file within a file system. Sharing of files among different users or computers can be easily done. Formatting of files is also possible so that user can give structure to their files the way they want. Information can also be easily transferred from one file to another file. You can create backups of your files that helps you to recover files in case of accidental failure. For user identification, files are given user identifiable names, while operating system gave its own unique identifiers to different files that are not visible to users. Files can also be encrypted and decrypted both by the user as well as by the system. The important topic that we are going to discuss next is the data access methods within the files. This is the important topic. How can data within a file be accessed? First method is sequential access. In this method, the record or files are organized in sequence, mainly in some order, such as the alphabetical sequencing of files. But this method is mostly helpful for accessing MP3 or MP4 files that are stored in physical order and they are played in sequence. In order to reach to specific record, you need to move forward or rewind. This type of access method is best implemented on tape drives where some audio or video is played, and to reach to some specific record on the drive, one had to move the tape forward or either rewind it. Next access method is direct method. It is commonly implemented on disks where all files are stored randomly. And when you open any disk, all the files are visible to you, so you can click on any file to open it randomly. Another file access method is index sequential method, and it is best implemented in databases where records in database are indexed using some access keys such as the primary keys. You can easily access any record using its primary key. You do not need to open the whole data within the database. Instead, you can easily jump to your required record using its index or primary key. Next access method is relative access. This is something also implemented best in databases. When primary key of a table is stored as foreign key in another table, only if you have to divide data in multiple files. So, data from multiple files can be easily accessed using single key. So, relative file access method is most commonly also implemented in databases, and you have used all these techniques. Next topic of discussion is the directory structure, how the files are organized on your disk. The directory structure is in front of you. You organize your files in different directories. One directory may have different files for user convenience. So one can create multiple directories to hold multiple files. One directory may have subdirectories and they may reside on some secondary storage. These subdirectories can be very easily moved or copied to another storage device, such as your backup devices like pen drives and other storage devices. So this is how a directory structure is created on your system. Some directories are made by the user on disks, and as per your convenience, you store your files in respective directories. One directory may hold multiple files, and one file may hold multiple type of data. So this is the complete structure of directory. That is it. Here we come to the end of this chapter. I hope things must be clear to you related to file system. I thank you all.